What's popping, guys? It's Jude here today, and Jesus, Mary and Joseph, it's cold. It's like minus 20 billion degrees out here, but here I am once again suffering for my art. And speaking of arts, that's what today's video is all about. We're going to be jumping back into the world of my animated movie, Big Mountain. So if you watched the previous episode, you might remember we focused on this autumnal area. Surprise, surprise, today we're going to be focusing on a wintry area. Yeah, today we're going to be focusing on a location that's really quite high up the mountain. So of course the snow settles there and it's all frosty and wonderful. I really like snow, it's my favourite weather. I think it makes everything look really beautiful. You can't really see it now because it's quite foggy. So yeah, my plan is to draw out this kind of wintry village and then just explore some of the inhabitants that might live there, and also just think about where the story might go in this village, because we're nearly at the top of the mountain that the whole kind of story has been working towards. Anyway, I'll explain more while I'm drawing in a voiceover because it's quite cold and I don't really want to die of hypothermia out here. So yeah, I'll explain more when I'm drawing. Oh, I missed. Oh well. Okay, bye. So if you've been keeping up with this whole animated movie series for a while, you'll have noticed that as we've been travelling up this mountain, the locations the characters find themselves within have been getting colder and colder. And that's because that's how mountains work. I don't know what to tell you. In the previous episode, I drew a kind of autumnal area, and we met this weatherman character who gives the main character Alvar and his friends a lift in his weather balloon. The town I'm drawing today, which I've yet to name, so leave some comments down below, is kind of a big port for hot air balloons and other flying vehicles. And it's also the weatherman's final destination that he was trying to get back to. But Jude, why doesn't the weatherman just give Alvar a ride all the way to the top of the mountain and then the whole story would be over? Well, first of all, how dare you question the logic of this incredibly watertight story? No, I realise that is a little bit of a problem, but I suppose we could say that the conditions this far up the mountain are very harsh, and the reason this town acts as kind of a hub for all of these air vehicles is because it's about as high up the mountain as you can go before the winds are really strong and the weather is all stormy and nasty. And I think it's a legitimate reason to say you can't fly a hot air balloon in a snowstorm. So that's that plot hole dealt with. No, anyway, when designing this town, I didn't really have any ideas going in. About 2 years ago, in one of the earliest videos about my film idea, I drew this very rough picture just with a computer mouse in about 5 minutes. So I decided to use this at least as a basic template, just to at least get some buildings down and kind of structure around. I didn't go into forensic detail in this piece, it was more just about getting the overall bird's eye view of the place, but I did try to create a few more interesting sort of landmarks that stand out from the rest. The first of which is this big harbour building. I suppose the layout of this village is a bit weird in the fact that it kind of sits between two sets of docks, with the frozen lake on its right side and the airship docks on its left. I based the harbour building roughly around the bathhouse from Spirited Away. It's not quite that grand obviously, but I've always thought, as I'm sure many people do, that the bathhouse is such a cool building. And anyway, what I ended up with was sort of like an old-fashioned train station type building, but I think it does work. And then you'll notice right on the far ridge of this canyon area that I've drawn is a lighthouse. And again, if you'll remember back to a previous episode of this series, I introduced the whole concept of these sky lighthouses that help guide airships across the sky. I was inspired by a line from the game To the Moon, where two characters kind of discuss the idea that all of the stars in the sky might actually be different lighthouses trying to signal each other. And I thought that was a really nice concept, so I based this design on the lighthouses from Ghost of Tsushima, purely just because I think they're very aesthetically pleasing and it fits in with the kind of old-fashioned fantasy vibe that I'm going for. And then in terms of adding colour to this piece, I think the textures on the mountain behind was probably the hardest part to get right. There's a lot of shading that goes into creating the different ridges and rock faces of a mountain, and especially with the snow and everything, I found it quite difficult to get right. This is the sort of thing that you watch someone like Bob Ross do, and he makes it look really easy, but in reality it's never that simple, I don't think. And especially as someone who has kind of a weakness when it comes to shading. Not that literally every other area of art isn't one of my weaknesses, but it was just pretty hard. I think what I came out with was serviceable in the end. And there we have it, that's the village below the mountain's summit. What do you think of it? Let me know in the comments below. I'm mostly happy with how it turned out. And now that we had the village drawn, it was time to decide what the inhabitants of this place would look like. So far, we've already got the Wanderers I drew in a previous episode. They're kind of these big snowball-shaped guys that are super strong, and they pull big carts of produce up and down the most dangerous parts of the mountain. And then we've got Archimedes, the Yeti character, who will live here with his wife. Archimedes will have much more of an impact on the story, as he volunteers to lead the main characters across this frozen lake to hopefully continue their journey on the other side. My initial thoughts was that the main characters would be a bit behind in the race up the mountain, and they would arrive just a little bit too late to catch this big smog-belching boat that the other competitors are already setting sail on, so they'd have to turn to Archimedes for help, as he's the owner of several dog sleds. So yeah, the thought was that they would venture out onto the ice pulled by these dogs, and they actually run into a bit of trouble on the ice when they meet this huge crab. But that's a story for another time. The point is, the idea of a dog sled is a bit boring to me. We've all seen people on skis before being pulled by dogs, haven't we? So I thought I could spice this up a bit and make it more interesting. Now, a lot of you who have watched some of my Spore videos have often requested for me to reference characters from those series in this film idea, and I've been a bit reluctant to do so because I don't think everything needs to have an interconnecting story, does it? And I quite like having some separation between the silly Spore videos and this film idea, which isn't super serious obviously, but is a bit more thought out, and yeah, it's a different universe to the whole Spore saga. But anyway, as I've been making this Spore series recently about Stinky the elephant, it got me thinking, wouldn't it be funny to have the characters venture out onto the ice towed by a group of little wintry elephant creatures? So that's what I've drawn here. The design is very simple, it's pretty much just Stinky the elephant with a different colour scheme. I did give the elephants these floppy ears because I like the idea of their ears flapping all over the place as they run. And there we are, that's pretty much all I've done today. I'm sorry it's not too much, it's been a bit of a rush this month to fit everything in, and I've been a little bit poorly over the last couple of days. I was hoping to get this out before Christmas, but it won't be now. Anyway, enough complaining. As I said, I'm reasonably happy with what I have come up with today, and I hope that you enjoy it too. So there we are, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed the pieces I did. As I'm filming this, I haven't done them yet, so I couldn't tell you whether they went well or not. They probably didn't, let's be honest. Yeah, if you'd like to submit any of your own drawings or paintings of anything that I've done today or in previous episodes, then you can do that on the Discord. Consider joining the Patreon. There's a Patreon tab just for supporting this movie idea, so yeah, that's just for if you're feeling like it. There's no pressure really. Anyway, that's it for today. I'm not sure whether I'm going to get this out before Christmas or not, so here, I'll film 2 outros. Merry Christmas, everyone. I hope you had a good Christmas, everyone. That should cover both bases. Oh man, I love Christmas. I love snow. I'm going to go that way now. I'll see you all in the North Pole, hey? Bye. Oh, this was a lot harder than I anticipated. Oh, why am I off-roading so much? Oh, I nearly fell over.